All right, so we're going over question number 2 in the LRBT3 document. Newscaster. In order for the public to participate in a meaningful way in the current public policy debate, one requirement is that the issues be stated in terms the public can understand. The mayor's speech has just stated these issues in such terms, so now the public at least might be able to participate in a meaningful way in the current public policy debate. All right, let's break that down. So, in order for the public to participate in a meaningful way in the current public policy debate, one requirement is that the issues be stated in terms the public can understand. Sorry. One requirement. Okay. So this is a requirement. So this is necessary for the public to participate in a meaningful way in the current public policy debate. One requirement is that issues be stated in terms the public can understand. The mayor's speech has just stated these issues in such terms, so the mayor's speech did this requirement, so now the public at least might be able to participate in a meaningful way in the current public policy debate. So the question is asking which of the following most closely parallels the newscaster's argument and its reasoning. So this is a parallel reasoning question. We need to look for an answer choice that most closely resembles the reasoning structure of our stimulus. So let's go through the answer options. A. One must know Russian if one is to read D's original text of Crime and Punishment. Rachel has never learned Russian, therefore she cannot read the original text of Crime and Punishment. This specific answer choice I don't really like because this sentence right here uses the word might be. So that is much less strong. It's much less stronger than using cannot read. Like that is strong. So just based on that, I would not like it. And just in general, the overall structure of it just isn't really outlining what our stimulus is saying. So I would immediately go out with A. B. In order to reach one's goals, one must be able to consider these goals carefully. Laura has reached her goals, so she must have been able to consider those goals carefully. At first, this answer option seems pretty good. It has the same sort of structure of in order to, it has that requirement, and then it has the fact that someone has used that requirement. The issue in this answer choice lies with she must have been able to consider those goals carefully. This use of the word must is way too strong and not similar to the more mild way that they use the word might be able to over here. So B, for me, is out. C, one cannot confuse the majority of one's students if one wants to be a teacher. Hugo wants to be a good teacher. Therefore, he might be able to avoid confusing the majority of his students. So this one has the requirement here that you cannot confuse the majority of your students if you want to be a good teacher. Hugo wants to be a good teacher. Therefore, he might be able to avoid confusing the majority of his students. This has the might be able to. It's not too strong. And it has the requirement, but I'm not really loving the structure of it or how it sounds. It's not really mirroring how the stimulus is saying it exactly, but you know what, I'm going to keep it. Let's see if there's another answer option that might be a little bit stronger, but for now, I would keep it, especially if I was on the test. D. In order to discover the meaning of certain seldom used words, one must use a good dictionary. Paul has a good dictionary, so Paul must have discovered the meaning of those words. So, just like in B, this first sentence sounds good. In order to use this, one must do this. Even this next part, Paul has done this. So Paul must have discovered the meaning of those words. That must right there is too strong. They use the mild word might, and just one word could throw the entire answer choice off. So I would put D out. E, one must at least have warm clothing if one is to survive in a very cold climate. Jerome has obtained warm clothing. Therefore, he might be able to survive in a very cold climate. I like this very much because there's the requirement in the first sentence. One must have at least warm clothing if one is able to survive in a very cold climate. Jerome has done this, and therefore he might mild answer choice, might be able to survive in a very cold climate. Let's go back to our stimulus and decide between C and E. So what is the requirement in the first sentence? In order for the public to participate in a meaningful way in the current public policy debate, one requirement is that the issues be stated in terms the public can understand. So the mayor's speech did this in those terms. Let's see what... In C, it says, if one wants to be a good teacher. Hugo wants to be a good teacher. So it has the same second part, but has he actually done it? Is he a good teacher? Therefore, he might be able to. No, he wants to be. So I wouldn't necessarily go with that answer. I would like E much better because one must have, so this is the requirement, if one wants to survive in a very cold climate, one must at least have warm clothing. Jerome has obtained. He has actually done that and obtained the warm clothing. So therefore, he might be able to survive in a cold climate. So I would 100% go with E.